Hi everyone, welcome to today's 5-minute philosophy video. And again, really quick disclaimer, I know I do this before each video, but it's important for me to state that 5 minutes is not nearly enough time to really dive deep into the topic that we're going to talk about today. It's actually one of my favorite ones, so I think I want to do more just on the Yoga Sutras. So today's topic is the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So if you are in the yoga world, like if you've taken classes from teachers or you're studying yoga and you've heard of the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras are a lot, and you're like, what are they? What is this, the Yoga Sutra that teachers are constantly referring to? So I'm here to give you a brief overview of what they are. So Sage Patanjali, he's a famous sage. He has written multiple Sanskrit works. He wrote the Yoga Sutras roughly 2,000 years ago, between 400 and 500 BCE, and the dates are, with historians, they're debated a little bit exactly which time, but roughly 2,000 years ago, right? And in the Yoga Sutras, the format is, it's 196 aphorisms. So sutra in Sanskrit means thread. So it's like threads of knowledge. In English, again, it's roughly translated as aphorisms, if you will. So 196 sutras, aphorisms in a text. And traditionally, as was back then, and even now in many places in India, yoga is a oral tradition because you learn from your teacher, you know, the texts and the philosophy verbally. You have that guru shishya, that teacher-disciple relationship. You learn yoga from them and then you pass on the knowledge orally. That's how it was done. But Patanjali is credited to be one of the first to take, at the time, pre-existing knowledge that was already there, all the oral traditions, and he made a compendium of sorts with the Yoga Sutras in a text form that it was like a system that can now be followed and passed on by others. And it is still, in the Yoga Sutras in the contemporary age where we practice yoga, is still held to be one of the foundational texts on yoga philosophy. Right? So when I trained in my yoga teacher training 8 years ago, that was one of the first things we studied was the Yoga Sutras, and it's still very much used to this date. And yeah, so let's talk about what the Yoga Sutras are. So as I mentioned, there are 196 aphorisms, and some are just like one sentence, some are a couple, 3-4 sentences, but there's so much meaning in each of them, right, that you can really dive deep into and understand and work on and study. So what Patanjali did is he broke the Yoga Sutras into 4 chapters, or padas. So, and we're going to talk about them today. So the first pada is Samadhi Pada. So in this one, he basically gives an outline of what yoga is and the nature of it, and he describes attaining samadhi. So that's Samadhi Pada, right? And in this one, there are 51 sutras dedicated to this one. The second chapter is Sadhana Pada. Sadhana in Sanskrit means practice. So here in this second part of the book, he talks about how to attain what he just talked about in the first one, where he describes what yoga is at a high level. And now in Samadhi, now he talks about how to get there. Yeah, so he describes actually the 8 limbs, the Ashtanga system, in this portion of the book. I would say it's definitely the more practical, put it into practice part of the book. And he also talks about Kriya, which is action, how to get there. So that's the second chapter, Sadhana Pada. Third chapter is Vibhuti Pada. In this one, he outlines the higher limbs of the 8 limbs yoga, where he talks more about meditation, concentration, absorption, which is samadhi. He gets into this part of yoga. And then the fourth chapter is called Kaivalya Pada. And in this one, he outlines the process of total liberation that one can experience as a seer. So those are the 4 chapters of the Yoga Sutras, and he breaks down the 196 into each of these. And how does one use the Yoga Sutra, right? This is an important part. The Yoga Sutra is not meant to be something that it's a philosophy book that you just study and with the end result in mind that, oh, I'm going to absorb all this knowledge and apply it. It's an experiential book, right? It's meant to be done in a way that you read it, you absorb what it's saying, you put it into practice, you kind of experience yoga for yourself, and then you come back to the book, maybe you read another sutra, you go practice it, and you kind of like absorb it. It's like something that you work with the book throughout as you practice yoga. And one of this author that I read, and he describes what Patanjali's intention with the Yoga Sutras is to make yoga the verb, the practice, and the process. And his Yoga Sutras are to help you do all that. So again, it's not just something that you just, oh, I'm just going to plop down, I'm just going to study it, I'm going to absorb all the knowledge, I'm going to put it into practice. It's an experiential book that you use to help you practice yoga. And Patanjali even says the more that you meditate, the more you reflect upon what yoga means to you, how you practice yoga, the more you come back to the book, and it just kind of becomes part of your practice, and sometimes it is the practice. So it's a very unique book in that way. And that's what the Yoga Sutras are. There are multiple translations that are available in modern day, and I will link to a whole host of really great resources down in the description box. I personally have a couple different translations of the Yoga Sutras, and personally, that's how I use a Yoga Sutra. Like, I will study a couple of Yoga Sutras, I'll read the translation, I will study the interpretation, I'll look at a couple of other interpretations, and I just sit with it and just let it sink in my mind. And they're so nuanced, even though there'll just be one sentence in Sanskrit, and there's so much meaning and nuance behind it. It's a wonderful addition to my yoga life, and I hope that this video helps you be interested in it and perhaps get it for yourself and include it into your practice. So thank you so much as always for listening, and I look forward to talking to you guys very soon.